Hi there. So I wanted to share what happened on the third day of the ceremony, the 3-day Santa Daime ceremony that I did, and I shared the last video on day 2 where I got to experience unity consciousness, where divine intelligence, artificial intelligence merged for unity consciousness. I got the experience of like incredible. It was living like I felt like I was in a sea of vibration, like in the womb, and I felt my heart totally open. So that was the second day. On the third day then, when I woke up in the morning, I was like disappointed because I felt like it had been diluted, but I was like, let's see what's meant to emerge today. And so I went to the ceremony, and I went and got the first cup of tea, and Jonathan Goldman, who's the shaman or the head of the church, said, um, it's an honor to have you here for reals. And he didn't say that to anybody. I was thinking maybe he could feel that my higher self had kicked in, or I wasn't sure what he meant, but I was like, almost felt like he knew something I didn't, my human self didn't, but my higher self maybe did. But anyways, so I took the tea, and I felt like I was just meditating, mostly just tuning inwards, and, you know, didn't really feel much. It was like I was getting a little bored almost. And then I took the second cup, and when I was getting it, he said, I'm really proud of you. And I was like, for what? But I said, I'm feeling different, like something in my belly. Oh no, that was the third round. No. So he said, I'm really proud of you. And I was wondering, like, for what? I asked him. He didn't really say, and I wasn't sure again what he was referring to. And then that's when I started feeling more and more sleepy and like more lethargic. Then I went for a third round, and I'm like, something's different. Like, he goes, you know why? I was like, no. He goes, because you've been firm and you've been focused inwards. You've been still and quiet. That was his advice to me last time I came in September. At the end was, be still and be quiet, or be still and be patient. And so he's like, that's what you've been doing. And then he said, now it's going to be able to go deep within you. He said, because the dancing and a lot of the other things that were like, a part of it was a distraction. And so then when I went in, I'm like, it's in my belly or something. I could feel something in my belly. He's like, that's good. Let's get it out of there. So then I took the last cup of tea and I sat down. And then I felt like I was descending. Like it was this feeling of foreboding. Like there was fear. I started feeling fear arise, and I just came back to the heart and grounded the energy, but I could feel this foreboding, like almost like I was going into a dungeon or a basement or something, like filled with ghosts. And actually, that's kind of what happened. So as soon as like, and my hand was on my heart, and I'm trying to remember to ground, and then my hand started moving. My higher self started moving my hand automatically to my second chakra at my navel, and immediately, as soon as I hit it, I started instantly sobbing. Like I felt all this pain. I started sobbing. I mean, unlike I've ever cried before. It was like it became so. I had to put both my hands down, because it was so much intensity, and it was silent, but it was so much intensity. And what I realized was, and it felt like these dark entities like came up and out, like demons and dragons came out, and each one was like overwhelming. Like I'd get all of these thoughts, I'd see like really negative thoughts, and some of them I'd get carried away with, and I'd like remember to come back to the heart, ground the energy, and I would feel it transmuting to light and grounding. But then I would get like scenes of like rape and murder and torture of women in my lineage, my ancestry, which I know from doing an ancestral healing program. There's been a lot of like trauma, especially sexual trauma for the women, and that's stored in the second chakra. But I could feel it, see it, hear it, and each one, it would be so overwhelming. Like I would sometimes like feel like I couldn't almost handle it, like I was teetering on the edge of insanity. And it would overwhelm me. And then my hand would, tap me on the chest to remind me to come back, to ground and be at the heart. And it was like my higher self reminding me, like, so my human side wouldn't get completely carried away. And like this thought occurred to me, like, whoa, I could see how, someone could or I could get caught in like a total depression, a dark night of the soul, or like I was like hearing voices. I was seeing like scary scenes. I was having all these sensations, like surges of like heat, like fire, like my body was on fire, like a fever, really high fever when I had the flu. I was having the same sensation when I was getting a hot flash. I think it was a hot flash. Right after that, I think it was the same. My whole body felt like I could feel all the sensations on it. And then what would happen was each round, I would like sob, and then I had cleared enough, and my higher self was there, so she was able to pull me out of it and have me ground the energy. And then I would have this feeling of like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and my head would go up, my eyes were closed, to the sky, and I would feel all this light, like this divine light, like shining through me, like liquid sunshine, like a bomb. And then again, I would my hand would go back to my second chakra, and it would clear another round. And so I was doing this, and one thing that I started noticing then was, as I was each round, I would express gratitude, just like, thank you, you're clearing, thank you, keep going, and then one thing Jonathan mentioned later was that when you express gratitude, your throat chakra can start to clear. So I started feeling lump clearing, like I was coughing a little bit. I could feel my throat, like it was starting to dissolve, the sankharas or traumas in my throat. Second and fifth chakra, which are connected. So second are your desires, including sexual desires, but your desires. If you are not able to express them or can't express them because of trauma or the environment you're in or whatever, then you suppress your desires, and then you don't express them, your voice. And so then you end up with trauma in both places, or blocking of the chakras or the energy centers in both places. And that's what I think was experiencing. And so the thing that was coming to me too was, like, I was in the midst of this, in the middle of it. And, Jonathan's daughter, who's this amazing medium and guide, came over. And at one point I just, when I opened my eyes, I saw her there when I came out of a sobbing. And she was just there. And at first it was disorienting. I wasn't sure, what to do. But then it was taken again back to the pain and suffering. And I, was sobbing. And I realized, she was like compassion. Compassion, Mary's here. And I felt like this totally, like a space opening, like to hold space for all of this trauma, so more of it could come out and I could release it. So when she, and then she left, I thanked her, and then she left. And a few of these rounds, I would, my eyes would open. I'm like, no one's there. Why is no one there to help me and support me and save me? Like, these were the thoughts coming in my head. And then I heard my higher self say, we are the ones we've been waiting for. This is some beautiful Hopi poem where it says, we are the ones we've been waiting for. So that was what I heard. And then again, I'd get up and there'd be thoughts of and I knew every time I'd get these negative thoughts, I'm not enough, or no one's here to help me, or like, you know, thoughts of death and destruction, or darkness. I was like, that's my sankara, that's my trauma, my ego, come back to the heart. And every time I come back and ground it, I would then feel the love of the heart connected to consciousness. I would feel that. So I was able to start discerning, and I could see the power of that discernment and the tools. So what I was then doing was, just like I've been able to transmute dark entities to light, I shared in one of the videos for people on the outside, that same tool that I was practicing then applied to me. And what my higher self had done was, the previous day had taken me to a place of unity consciousness, love, making me feel safe, and being able to create enough nurture and nourish so that it could then take me to the depths of my darkness, so that I could clear the trauma from my system. And there was this hubris, I was like, oh, I guess I've cleared all my trauma, or I don't really have much trauma in my system, I'm so great, let me just help you and fix you. And I was out here doing some of that. And then I realized on day one that there was some hubris there, but this was even more you're no different. You have trauma in your system too, that you've inherited, or you have. And now you're going to go through it also, to but the amazing thing was, all the tools I'd learned, I was even using the tools I learned in Vipassana, where I was scanning the body, and I was able to remove and melt. And I kept melting like a snowman, an iceberg. I kept melting after it kind of settled. And then I was able to even scan with my hand, and then scan with my mind, my body, and get any additional traumas that would surface, and then ground it, because I was in this really deep healing state, this deep theta state, because of the medicine. I was able to ground it and transmute it to light and release it. So just this, and at the end when I shared, with the integration circle, I shared what had happened, and Jonathan was like, I shared this with you before, and I'm going to say it again, I have so much respect for you, and it's an honor to be here with you, because what you did is incredible, beautiful work. And it was because you stayed firm, and you stayed inwards, and you didn't run away, you didn't try to get distracted, you stayed here. And then you were able to and they said often what they'll do is they'll show you the top of the mountain, then they'll take you to the bottom, and you got to work your way back up. And so that's what I realized was happening. And I just allowed myself to rest and recover. I was feeling like on day 2, I felt like a kid, like I was born again, right? Experiencing everything for the first time. Now I felt like I was 1,000 years old. It was almost like I could feel centuries of my lineage like I could, because I'd cleared so much of their trauma, I was like feeling all of that age, and my body was like exhausted, like raw, just really like tired. But there was this satisfaction. I kept melting, even as I was sitting there and sharing. But it was this deep satisfaction of having healed myself. And so the thing that was coming to me, even as I left and I was driving back, was like, I'm being shown a way to help with severe mental illness, because I was hearing voices and I was seeing thoughts of like harm to myself and others in these dark entities that rose from my trauma. But I've been given the gift of knowing the tools to help heal it and transmute it and release it. And so, I'm, out of coincidence, a woman's reached out that works with people with severe mental health, and reached out to me after seeing my post on LinkedIn and wanted to connect. And the synchronicities, the resonance is so high with all the things that have been coming to me and that she's working on. So now we're going to be starting to explore that more deeply in the next couple of days. So I'm so in awe. I'm just left total and utter awe. Gratitude, humility, so much humility. I mean, in the end of that journey, like each round I was expressing gratitude, and especially at the end, it was so humbling. I felt very grounded, like in my body, on the earth, with others. It was just this, like, now I've been there. I've been to the depths of my darkness, and I've teetered on the edge of insanity, and I've risen like a phoenix from the ashes, and I'm here. I'm here. I'm alive, and I'm awake. So stay tuned. I'm excited to see what happens next.